welcome back to the Royalrumble debate and to another edition of Raw out of 10. A big episode of Raw today because of course it is the last Raw before the Royal Rumble, so there is lots happening on this week's show, and of course we have to address the status of the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins, and that's what kicked off the show. And Seth Rollins, had tears in his eyes at the start, and you think, Christ, what's going to happen here? But he told WWE Universe he will not miss WrestleMania 40. Thank God. He vows to do everything in his power to compete at the Showcase of the Immortals. And defend the title despite his knee injury. Then, despite a new threat from the IC champion, Gunther interrupted his promo and claimed he will win the Royal Rumble match on Saturday and challenge Rollins. It was a perfectly booked segment which gave us the big news from Rollins at the top of the show, presented Gunther as a legitimate threat to win the Rumble and teased a potential match of the year candidate between these two. Then it ended with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods attacking Kaiser and Vinci ahead of their match that only enhanced the segment. A great way to kick off the show. And then we did advance to that New Day versus Imperium match, and it settled nothing as the hatred between the two boiled over into a brawl on the floor, and the double count out was only the beginning of the action, with the fight spilling around the ringside area into the stands before all four men clashed through the tables, put an exclamation point on the segment. WWE Creative deserves a ton of credit for taking what felt like a nice little undercard program between two talented teams and turning it into one of the more surprisingly intense rivalries in the company. If nothing else, it's given a New Day a much needed edge and provided Kaiser and Vinci with something more to do than other just be cronies and Gunther to Corinta. So yeah, I thought this worked really nicely. The action was brilliant, and it's all going to lead to much more. I don't know, maybe we'll get a cage match, a street fight, whatever, between these two teams, but either way it's going to be good. 7 out of 10. Before it's time for Ivy Nile versus Valhalla, Nile sought a measure of revenge for her friend Maxine after she battled Valhalla with the Viking Raiders in a one-on-one match. Dupree accompanied Nile. The back-and-forth contest was short-lived and concluded with Nile delivering a middle rope bulldog, dubbed the Pitbull by Wade Barrett for the win. It was too short to really be considered good, and Valhalla did not really have enough time to shake off the room rust, so her facial expressions and body language were solid. Above that is a fine showcase for Nile, who should be doing something more of note in the women's division. But yeah, I just felt like this wasn't given enough time, and maybe the action wasn't quite up to scratch compared to what else we saw in the card as well. So unfortunately, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. But anyway, Nia Jax set out to talk about her plans to dominate the Women's Rumble, and she ended up showing the world what she's capable of after being interrupted by Becky Lynch and SmackDown's Bayley Lynch, down the role model for the manhandles down, before Jax tossed the man to the arena floor. The Irresistible Force stood tall to close the relatively one-dimensional segment that did little to further any ongoing feud or drum up that much more anticipation for the Women's Rumble. And I think given the calibre of the competitor that was involved with this, I kind of did hope and expect for a little bit more from this. So yeah, I have to say this was a bit disappointing, to be fair. Before it's time for The Miz versus Dominic Mysterio, Dominic, Rhea Ripley issued an edict to Finn Balor ahead of Dom's showdown with The Miz. She wanted to see the aggressive side of the Irishman. She got a little taste of it as a Prince cheat shot to Miz, and that set him up for a 6.9 finish. DIY then hit the ring to save the A-lister, teasing a trios match for next week potentially. The contest itself was a perfectly acceptable one, thanks to The Miz's ability to work with anyone, and Mysterio's constantly improving in ring ability. It was then a bit too much interference, but before anything, it was still a solid use for everyone involved, and the slow burn Judgment Day split continues to grow. And yeah, that led to Damian Priest cutting a promo about McIntyre. The Judgment Day gear wasn't there. He was wearing a Puerto Rico inspired shirt, and yeah, it's all little hinting, and we can see where we're all building up. So yeah, I thought on the whole this segment definitely planted some seeds in a solid decent way, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Chad Gable and Ivar then had another great match on Raw. Two of the more unsung performers on Raw tore the house down, winning over the New Orleans crowd en route to the Viking Raiders' victory. Valhalla appeared late in the match and distracted Serge and Gable, and not to last week's show in which Dupree cost the big man a match against Tozawa. From there, Ivar delivered a big moonsault to Gable and then scored the tainted victory. It was a fantastic bout that had the crowd biting on false finishes, proved that putting talented wrestlers in the ring and letting them work for fans' attention and appreciation is still possible. The outcome suggests the feud will continue, but yeah, I just kind of hope it doesn't get overdone. But I think, in a way, one more match, not many people are going to complain, I don't think, either. But moving on then to the most anticipated segment of the week, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes coming face to face for an explosive promo segment. The men's Royal Rumble rivals spoke of the late Dusty Rhodes and took to see each other before Punk claimed to be more like his father than his son. The American Nightmare fired off a retort, claiming to be more CM Punk than the man standing before him. Anyone expecting net references to AEW or the issues that led to either man leaving the promotion had unreasonable expectations. Instead, the Great Talkers laid the foundation of their story by recalling real-life history between them, and while inciting the memory of the American dream, it results in a tense stare down that only serves to intensify the intrigue surrounding the two overwhelming favourites for the Rumble. And yeah, it planted the seeds for a potential showdown between the two of them if Rollins is unable to compete at WrestleMania and WWE needs a backup plan, etc, etc. That could really work. So yeah, I thought on the whole this was great stuff. We then got Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae versus Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, and the heels continue to state their claim for a women's tag championship opportunity with a convincing win. The babyfaces fought hard to improve on their winning streak, which included a victory over Chelsea and Piper, but they were overwhelmed by the tenacity of their opponents. And after the match, Katana and Caden came to the face-to-face with them, only to be jumped by Damage Control. The Kabuki Warriors stood tall to close the show, and ahead of the clash, obviously, on SmackDown. So yeah, I think it worked nicely, building multiple different dynamics for the women's tag titles, which is the first time we've seen in a while. It feels like 3 genuine dynamics, not ones just pushed together as well. So yeah, I think that's definitely positive signs. But moving on into the main event, Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. The budding friendship between Priest and Truth faced a major setback in Monday's main event as the latter unwanted presence that cost the Archer from his match with Drew McIntyre. This repeated distractions caused by Truth allowed Scott to rock Priest with the Claymore and scored the win, building momentum for himself ahead of the Rumble and dealing Priest an unnecessary loss when the patience for defeats is wearing thin within the Judgment Day. Priest warned Truth earlier in the night that his teammates were going to be bringing the hammer down on him, and after the way this match played out, it would be Senor Money in the Bank who does it himself. The loss furthers one of the most unexpectedly entertaining storylines WWE is providing, while McIntyre predicted up another big win. Does he stand a chance of winning on Saturday? No, probably not, but they've done a good job presenting him as a threat. He does not appear out of place with the likes of Punk and Cody Rhodes, and I think that's a job well done as well. So yeah, on the whole, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Really good job here. I think the whole Priest Archery storyline, like I say, it's been unexpectedly really, really good. And yeah, McIntyre, I think, just getting built up really nicely too. Overall, this week's Raw gets a 6 out of 10 from me. It wasn't a overwhelmingly brilliant go-home show for the Royal Rumble, but it certainly did have a lot of talking points. The Punk Road stuff was fantastic. And yeah, I think Ryan's good stuff, setting up definitely some interesting programs heading into Rainier season. And yeah, the action was pretty solid. Nothing bar away great, but I thought it was a decent go-home show. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.